Hi guys, Tony from GME. Today we're going to cover the XRS Connect smartphone application. We've got two smartphone apps for the XRS Connect range of radios. One is called the XRS Connect app and one is called XRS Connect Location Services. Today we're going to focus on the XRS Connect app and we'll do a subsequent video focusing on location services. The XRS Connect app is great for changing settings on your radio via your phone, which is a nice clean interface, particularly if you're not familiar with UHF radios. Rather than digging through the menu structure on the microphone, you can change all of your settings on the phone and then write those settings back to your radio. So to get started, we'll open the XRS Connect app. You'll then need to pair your radio, so click Radios. The list of radios will appear. And if you're not familiar with the pairing process, check the other video out on our channel where we run through the pairing process in quite a lot of detail. Your radio will appear in the list, choose the right radio based on the serial number, and it will then connect the app to the radio. The app will then prompt you to read the current configuration settings from your radio, and it's very important that you do so. If you don't do this and you start changing settings in the app, when you go to write those settings back to the radio, it will not work correctly and you'll lose all of the changes that you've just made in the app, which will be very frustrating. So make sure you read the current configuration before you get any further. The app will then start reading the data from the radio, and this process will take a couple of seconds, so just be patient. So once the app has read the current settings profile from the radio, you'll get a positive confirmation message saying that the read has been completed successfully. So hit OK, and now you can start changing all of your settings via the app in preparation to write them back to the radio. So jump into the radio settings menu item and you'll see a number of different menus for the different settings that you can change. Things like the user interface, the basic radio operation, subtones, scan settings, you can program buttons, adjust your cell call settings, adjust your auto power down feature, and there's also a special section just for those XRS features. So if we jump into the user interface, you can change things like the brightness of the OLED display, you can change the volume of the beeps, you can change your display options, so whether or not you would like the signal meter or, for example, the battery voltage display, you can change all of those settings through this menu. In terms of programmable buttons, you can program each of the programmable buttons through the app here, and it's again a little bit easier to digest in this format, particularly if you're familiar with the operation of a smartphone. So you can change what the top button press does, so you might want to program that one to voice playback. And as I mentioned, the XRS features things like voice playback and active mute, which we will cover in a bit more detail in future videos. You can change all of those settings through the app. So once you're comfortable, you've had a look through all of the different menus, you've changed the settings that you wish to, jump back to the main menu, and down the bottom you'll see Write to Radio. So this will import the settings that you've just changed on the app back onto your radio. So press that button and the app will start writing the data back to your radio. So once complete, you'll get a positive confirmation message on the app that the Write to Radio has been completed successfully, and the radio will beep once to confirm that it has received all of those settings. Some of the other functions that you can use the XRS Connect app for is the controls section. So if you hit controls at the top of the screen, the controls section will mirror a lot of the information that is shown on the OLED speaker microphone. So things like the current channel, you can also change the channel via the app. You can change which scan zone you're in. You can adjust the volume via the app, and you can also turn on scan or open squelch if you so wish. Now, this isn't for everybody, but if you're away from your vehicle, say you're in camp and you want to adjust the volume on your radio without having to go to the vehicle and physically adjust the volume on the mic itself, you can do so via the app. It's an important point to note here that if you are driving, please pay attention to your local laws and don't operate your smartphone while you're driving because you could get in trouble with the law. The last section that we'll cover in the app today is the support section. So if you click support at the top, there's some pertinent information here. In the About section, it will show you which version of the application you're running. You can check that against the App Store to make sure that you've got the latest version of the app installed. There's also some walkthroughs and the What's New section, which will tell you what the latest features are in the application. And the last one, and probably the most important one, is the Reset Radio function. So this feature's great if you've made some changes to the settings on your radio and it's now not performing the way that you expect it to. So there's a couple of different options in here. You can restore the settings to default, which will basically return all of the parameters back to the way the radio was when you purchased it, but it will retain any unique user data. So things like your cell call user ID and any zones that you've set up will be retained, but all of your general settings will be returned to the factory defaults. The alternative to that is the Restore to Factory Default option. This will wipe everything from the radio, so it will be just the same state as when you first took it out of the box, and it will remove any user data that you've set up. So be sure before you press that that's definitely what you want to do. And that's it for today. There is a lot more functionality in the XRS Connect app in relation to zones and scan lists. That's quite involved, and we will cover that in a separate video. As always though, if you've got any specific questions related to the XRS Connect app, feel free to ask the question in the comments section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to see more of this kind of content in the future.